Last week, we talked RIFs and how a RIF can be like a pension for life because Darren Farwell wasn't in, but a member of his team was, Leslie McCormick. But we have Darren back with us today. So good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Marilyn. Great to be here on Grey Cup weekend. I noticed there was a newscast this morning that didn't even mention anything about our Grey Cup.
They're like me, I don't follow football.
CFL, anyway. This morning, I'm going to share a happy story about determination and the ability to just pick yourself up and get going again. Of course, Marilyn, whenever one talks about picking yourself up, there's clearly another side of the story, the prequel, so to speak. Our story today is about Kathy. Kathy is 66 years old, and she came to see me to see if I was going to be the right person to be part of her team in picking herself up and getting going again. I was really quite impressed that Kathy actually had, the personal insight and knowledge of herself to know that that's what she needed to do. You see, Kathy rather suddenly and quickly went through the process of getting divorced. At the end of that process, she was left with a considerable amount of money to manage all on her own. In the past, her and her husband had managed their savings more or less together. Kathy insists she's just never very interested in the precise details of managing their savings, but she kept herself informed and knew where all the savings were and the appropriate records were kept. And as a bit of a sidebar, I'd like to make this suggestion to anyone in a relationship, man or woman. I understand there's a division of labor, and sometimes some people are better at one thing than another, and often we see one person in the relationship being mostly responsible for some of the financial decisions. But at the very minimum, each person should know exactly where the savings are and where the records are that indicate that those savings are there. But for Kathy, it wasn't only a change of now being entirely responsible for these savings herself. When all of a sudden, when she was married, her ex-husband had a full-time job. She had a part-time job. So their savings were really being focused on growing. But now, Kathy's savings had to work hard for her. Kathy's savings have to provide a reliable, long-term, tax-efficient income to support her lifestyle. Well, that's exactly what myself and Leslie and my team does. That's why Kathy's family law lawyer referred her to me and my team. We help create long-term, reliable, tax-efficient income. The reality of today's demographic and society is there's going to be more and more men and women finding themselves all of a sudden more financially responsible over their savings than they're used to. This happens often as a result of divorce, like Kathy, or death of a spouse, or a sudden and significant inheritance, the kind of good news story of that. When Kathy met with me for the first time, she started with the simple but insightful question. She said, "Darren, it seems like in a whirlwind, I'm all of a sudden a single woman. I have this big check. What are the most important first steps for me from here?" I said, "Kathy, in your case, I recommend 5 first steps. Number 1, deposit your check into a super high daily interest savings account so you can have access to the money as you need it, and at least it will earn something while you take time to consider your longer-term strategy. Number 2, as you've started to do, Kathy, assemble your team to help you get going in your new phase of life. This could include a professional financial advisor, and I gave her kudos for reaching out not just to me so much, but to a professional, an accountant, a supportive, positive group of friends or family members to provide the emotional support you may at times need, and potentially even a therapist for a very third-party ear to listen. Thirdly, double and triple check all of your beneficiary information. Last year, I heard a story of a woman who died suddenly and inadvertently left a $500,000 insurance policy to her ex-husband because she had not changed her beneficiary designation.
Oops.
Yeah, I think it's things like that that created that old saying she might be turning over in her grave. So check your registered plans, RSP, RIFs, LIFs, LIRAs, tax-free savings accounts, life insurance, power of attorneys at all the different institutions. Make sure the right people are named as beneficiaries. Number 4, start the process right away of updating your will. This is related to point number 3, but you want to be sure when something happens to you that your savings and your property go to where you intend them to if something happens. And finally, number 5, work with a professional wealth advisor to create your own personal long-term retirement or financial plan. This is critical. Get your long-term plans down on paper, because your plan is the starting point of creating your new future. Now, admittedly, sometimes at times like Kathy is in, it's hard to imagine the future. But in fact, by going through the exercise of creating your financial plan, your vision will actually begin to emerge. So Kathy took good notes, and at the end of it she said, well, Darren, what about investing my savings? And I said, Kathy, really we need to get the planning done first, and then we'll talk about investing. And so, Marilyn, since I will be here again next week, I'm going to use the opportunity next week to talk about the decisions we came up around investing her money after we finish the planning.
So I've been taking notes, and I also took notes quite a while back because we dealt with someone in a similar situation, and it came out that you're a certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA. So you guide people to the best outcome when they're going through a divorce, and Kathy is having the benefits of that. I'm not going to repeat these 5 points, but if you send them to me by email, I'll post them on the website.
I'll be glad to do that, Marilyn.
Please. And we'll do Kathy part 2 and find out the results of planning with Kathy after a divorce, and see how these 5 tips are going to affect her life going forward. Now, if somebody's sitting there and it may be just that they want to talk to you about something other than divorce, or maybe they're sitting there having this situation. Are you going to work today?
I will be there this morning until about 11 o'clock, Marilyn.
So you'll answer your phone, and I have the number 416-863-7501. You don't know what you don't know. I'm quoting Darren. So you can be proactive in your life. You can ask questions that are personal, get answers that are personal, and then pick the right course of action for yourself. Darren has offered generously to counsel you. So all you have to do is call him and get that second opinion, and have someone who can help you be the steward of your wealth. And whether it's divorce or just living life day to day, it doesn't hurt to know something that someone with experience and education and deals with this every day can tell you. The phone number for Darren Farwell, 416-863-7501. Thank you, Darren. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your football.
Thank you, Marilyn.
It won't be on my TV.